Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another out and about video. So today I am here for you in Žitnik in the southeastern part of Zagreb in Croatia, and we're going to have a little look at the Garden Brewery. So you can see behind me we have the nice big Garden Brewery sign and also this little glass building here with the red roof. So very much looking forward to going in and having a little look around and seeing what this place is all about. I've heard it's very nice, and we'll do as we always do. We'll go in, we'll have a little look at the food menu, we'll taste some of the beers, we'll have a little look around. So yeah, very cool to be here at the Garden Brewery in Zagreb. This is one of the first Croatian breweries that I heard of when I of course was outside of Croatia. There are many others that you can check out, but yeah, very cool to be able to come here to Zagreb and check out these guys. So let's go in, have a look around and do as we always do. I hope that you guys enjoy another little out and about video. See you soon. Alright, so as you can see up there, they've got this big, lovely, the Garden Brewery sign. But when you come down here, you can see they've got this light bulb sign here as well, which is very cool. But the gateway into the brewery is over here. So we'll go in, we'll have a little look as we always do. So yeah, when you come in, you can see, as the name would suggest, this lovely big garden. So yeah, I'm going to go and have a little explore and a beer. You can see the guys are chilling there already, but yeah, this is the entrance to the Garden Brewery. This is pretty damn awesome, I have to say. I really like it. I need to get some food, but let's go and have some beer with the guys. Alright guys, so I've been told that what you do in the Garden Brewery is that you follow the Golden Road through the garden. So yeah, as you can see, they've got a beautiful kind of outside space here. It is absolutely lovely. They've only moved in here very recently, from what I understand. But yeah, when you come round here, we need to duck below this branch. But yeah, when you come through here, you'll see the Garden Brewery tap room straight ahead. But you'll also see the restaurant. So they have the Full Circle, which apparently is like KFC on steroids. They have Submarine, which does some very good burgers. So I think we're going to need to try something from both the Full Circle and from Submarine, because you know, chicken and burgers, you can't really go wrong. Yeah, you've got the tap room over here where you can buy the beers, and yeah, again, you follow the Golden Road round. You come through here, past the bathrooms, and yeah, you pretty much end up back where you were before. So yeah, this is the other side of the garden part where we were before. You can see we just kind of walked over there. So yeah, that's a little walk around of the Garden Brewery taproom. Fujitsu are here today having a little party, I guess we could say. Alright guys, so yeah, I was just basically handed a big tray of beer by Tomo, who has been showing me around. So yeah, I've got a nice big jug of water and then about 12 cans of beer. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit crazy, can we say, but I definitely need some food before I crack into these beers. So let's go have a little look at that. Alright guys, well, time for beer tasting number one then here at the Garden Brewery in Zagreb. So the first beer that I'm going to have a little look at is, of course, the Paleo. This one comes in at 4.8% ABV, and this is one of about 12 cans that I was handed by Tomo to have a look at while I'm here. So you can imagine what direction this video is going to go in, but yeah, really cool of him to basically go around and pick out all these beers for me. But yeah, a little 330ml can, this one. Let's get it out and we'll have a little look at it. This should be quite nice. Quite a few of these beers that I'm trying for you, by the way, are also on tap here. But yeah, I was given lots of cans, but so yeah, I can't take these away with me from Croatia, so I'm just going to work my way through them. Why not? Yeah, so the first beer. So as you can see, this one, I think I've given it a little bit of a bad pour, but we'll see. So you can see this one is poured with about a finger and a half of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head. one or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of that head there, but overall it looks very, very nice. A lovely kind of bright orange amber colour. You can see that this one has a nice kind of rich, it just has a really nice kind of rich light amber colour to it, to be fair. Yeah, I don't think we can say anything else about the appearance of this one. The only other thing I was thinking is whether this is, this one contains wheat and oats, so it maybe is a little bit more of a kind of New England paleo this. But let's have a little look at the aroma and see what we get from it. So yeah, once again, very, very fresh. You can smell the kind of dustiness from the hop pellets in this beer. Yeah, this goes together very, very nicely. Yeah, backbone of the beer, absolutely. You get a little bit of fresh bread crust, some white bready notes out of it. Yeah, bread crust, fresh white bread. You've also got a little bit of that kind of sweet caramel, biscuity sort of thing. You can also get a little bit of the wheaty bitiness at the back of the nose too, which is typical of a sort of New England paleo. So yeah, I really like how that goes together for sure. Yeah, aroma wise on the malty side of things, it's pretty much what you would expect from this style of beer. Yeah, on the hoppy side of things, little touch of earthiness, nice big bright floral aromatic character, but you've also got some nice big grassy zesty notes coming out of this one. Yeah, aroma wise, this is very, very nice. On the fruity side of things, for me, a little bit of a stronger grapefruity, passion fruity note. A bit of orange for sure, a little bit of a kind of limey, lemon-limey kind of character. Yeah, very nice smelling beer for sure, I have to say. I like how this goes together, absolutely. Yeah, aroma wise, pretty much what you would want from the style. So yeah, this beer is simply called Paleo. It's one of Garden Brewery's kind of flagship beers. 4.8% ABV. Let's have a taste of this and see how we get on. Slange, skål, Zaveli. Oh yeah, that's pretty solid. I mean, in my opinion, it's one of the kind of less punchy, less assuming beers that you're going to find from Garden Brewery, but it's still just really nice and really drinkable. You can't ask for much more from the Paleo as a style, so I think it gets a thumbs up from me in that sense. Let's break it down for you. So, on the malty side of things, backbone of the beer, a little bit of a kind of fresh bread crusty type note to the beer. Lots of kind of fluffy white bread for sure. Yeah, this one, yeah, bread crust, fresh white bread. On top of that, a little bit of a kind of sweet caramel in the dead centre of your palate. There's also a wee bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing to this one for sure. But yeah, bread crust, fresh white bread from the barley malt. You can feel the wheat thickening that out a wee bit. Down the middle line of your tongue you get a little bit of a kind of oaty note there. But then yeah, dead centre of your palate, sweet little bit of butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. And then you also have just that little bit of kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit, butter candy type note coming out of this one. But yeah, it's a solid enough paleo, this one. You can't ask for much more from this beer on the malty side of things. When it comes to the hoppy side of the beer, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it gets a little bit more kind of herbal, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, definitely a little bit more kind of grassy and floral and stuff like that. Around the front curve of the tongue, a little bit lighter and grassy, of course. But yeah, everything you would expect from the green component of kind of, yeah, just a kind of regular paleo, this one, be it New England or West Coast. So yeah, fruity side of the things then. Yeah, fruity side of the beer. For me, it's quite nice. Again, this is a very light, kind of unassuming beer. So at the back of that front third of your palate, you definitely get a little bit of you do get a little bit of that kind of grapefruit. Yeah, you get a little bit of that grapefruit sort of thing, a bit of passion fruit as you move further forward. It's a little bit mangoey, there's a wee touch of apricot in there, and as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, there's just a little touch of that oily orange note. But yeah, it's a kind of standard paleo, so I say it's very nice. Mouthfeel wise, mid-bodied, smooth carbonation, a little bit oily but still very clean. Yeah, IBU wise, I think 20 IBUs at most. The malty backbone is very, very smooth. There's a little touch of sweetness to it. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness, as I say, 20 IBUs, and the fruity side of things is quite nice and oily. But yeah, the Paleo from Garden Brewery is pretty solid actually. I think this is quite a nice beer. Very nice one to start off with here for our tastings at Garden Brewery. So yeah, that's the end of tasting number 1. I'll catch you in a second with something else. Slàinte. Alright guys, so this is Tomo. Tomo is one of the brewers here at Garden Brewery, and he's going to give us a little walk round to the brewery. So let's get started. You excited, Tomo?
Oh really? Yeah. Well, really excited. So let's check the best part of the facility, which I reckon is the mezzanine.
Okay.
It's really beautiful with a nice view of the whole facility.
Cool, let's do it then, let's do it. Alright, so yeah, we're going up to the mezzanine. So I am just, at this point, I'm just praying that I don't drop the camera. So yeah, here we go.
So basically everything is divided in two parts. This is our row with 45 hect tanks, and upstairs are 2 rows of 90 hect tanks with 1 row of 4 brights. So we can check that also. Our big ass AC unit.
Yeah.
This is basically our idea of making dry hopping, pitching yeast and everything user friendly. So with as less of a danger we can get, if you get me. So it's pretty easy going. Everyone can come in. If you're a bit shorter, you just tap on a step here so you can go up, and it's basically really easy. Everybody can come in. You don't need ladders. You don't need anything. You just need hops and good beer.
Exactly, because you were explaining before that these little hook things on the side here.
Those were the holders for dry hop bags for the for the hops. So it was a bit hard, to be honest, and let's call it a bit dramatic. And you had to act fast, really fast, to do everything. So it needs a bit of experience, but you have to do. You have to fuck up once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, guys, this place is very, very impressive. Yeah, we'll go and have a little look at the brewing unit in a minute. But yeah, 99,000 litre tanks, 4,500 litre tanks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice view from here. There is our centrifuge, our 4 brights, and 2-row packaging line. For the cans, we mostly use small ones, 3 deciliters and 4.4 deciliters, which is, I think, UK measurement, if I'm right.
Oh yeah?
UK standard. And that's basically it. After that, we move it to our cold storage to give them a bit of a rest, a few days, and then they can go to the sales.
Okay, awesome. Could you? We've got a nice view of the brew kit here.
Yes,
could you explain?
We can go to this side.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Better view from this side.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, guys, as you can see, we can just basically walk along this nice platform here. But I'll hit and here in Tomo, and I'll explain the brew kit to you. Yeah.
So basically, we are starting with our mash mixer. We auger our malt inside and mix it with water at temperatures we want, and stack mash it how we want, depending on the beer style. After that, we move the whole mash into the water. In the water, we warlock it, run it off in the kettle, sparge it, and as usual, whirl it, cool it down, and fill up the tanks. The rest of it is magic, man.
Yeah, absolutely magic. Yeah.
So after that, beer goes here. Here is our heat exchanger. down there, and fill it up with oxygen, and after that it goes to the hard piping that is connected to all the tanks, so you can just choose which tank you want.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. After that it's the fermentation, cold crashing and packaging.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, guys, as you can see, Tomo has a very impressive facility to work with here. Yeah, so this is where he's just kind of walked me along, as I say, 45 hectoliter tanks here, 90 hectoliter tanks. Thomas has like the best gear of any brewer to work with. So yeah, quite happy. But Tomo, thank you for showing us around the brewery, and yeah, we'll maybe get Tomo to join in with a tasting with us if he's game.
Oh, I have to go. I have 2 dogs at home. I have to walk my dogs.
Okay. He has to
So
look after his girlfriend. Another time.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna fill you up with beers, so
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be good.
As you saw, Tomo gave me like 12 beers. Just insanity. This is Croatian people, absolutely crazy, like Scottish people. But Tomo, thank you
problem,
for
man.
this.
Anytime.
All right. Right, guys. So I did manage to persuade Tomo to stay behind for a tasting. This is the thing, if it involves alcohol, you can persuade Croatian people to do it. I think that's fair. So this beer is, from what I understand, Tomo's baby. So we should taste this one.
Yeah. So basically, this is our Imperial coconut and raspberry stout. It's an Imperial beer that we made as a collab with Garden Brewery. After that, this is one of the rare Imperials that we rebrewed because people just liked it. It's amazing beer, full of flavor, but it gets to with 8.5% alcohol. If you drink 1 or 2 cans, man, at one point you just don't feel your legs anymore.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So, and it's easy drinking. It's a bit sweet, and the coconut and raspberry really come along really nice. So yeah, let's crack it open.
Yeah, sure, let's do this, yeah. So guys, I will point out, this one's 8.5%, so not the craziest, not the strongest
No.
Imperial stout you'll come across, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah. And again, quite nice to be able to share this with one of the brewers. We've been quite lucky on these out and about videos in Slovenia and Croatia that we've actually met some of the brewers and things. You know, when you go to Scotland and stuff, that doesn't
It's hard.
happen all that often.
To be honest, you are lucky because this is in the last few months probably the easiest week I got, and probably the first day in a while I got some time just to do this.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this is it.
That's it. So guys, as you can see, as you would expect, lovely dark ebony rosewood colour. We've got about half a can each, so 2 fingers, frothy, kind of sort of light beige fawn coloured head. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation, but it looks great, exactly as you would expect from any kind of stout, to be honest with you. Aroma. I'll let you lead with this one.
Like the raspberry is prominent. The raspberry leads, and then you get some coconut in the back. I mean, you can feel the chocolate and coffee in the back, but the main roles here, main actors are raspberry and coconut, especially raspberry. It's not usual to find raspberry in Imperial stouts, especially here in Croatia. So it was a bold move, to be honest, for our market, but it did pay off. It really did pay off.
So guys, for those of you watching in Scotland and Sweden, I'm going to say straight away, this beer the aroma of this beer, it reminds me of a beer called Raspy Engine from Harveston Brewery.
Okay.
Maybe you've heard of Ola Doof, or
Yes,
the old engine
yes.
oil.
Yeah.
So maybe you didn't get that specific one, but they did a version of Ola Doof with raspberries. And it's very much like that.
Very similar.
Yeah, very similar. Aroma-wise, it's very much like that. So yeah, for me, like Tomo was saying, tart raspberries on top. Underneath that though, you do get a nice stout. I mean, well-fired bread crust, a bit of brown bread, toasty caramel.
Yeah, toasted caramel, yeah.
A little bit of a. There's definitely a wee bit of a kind of. How do we say this?
It has that acidity note from the raspberries also, sourish note, which basically comes from the fruit.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, this one gives you, it's almost like it smells quite light and easy going, it's almost like a porter in some sense. But yeah, the raspberries, this is the thing, is when you use, I have no experience with Croatian raspberries, but I always say Scottish raspberries, the tartness of these is very hard to beat. But this one...
These are those are not so tart. They have their own, let's call it tartness, a bit of acidity, but it's well balanced with sweetness in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it smells lovely. On hoppy side of things,
Oh, it's basic. It's, I think, just Magnum for the bittering and nothing much. So no, this particular one we used Columbus.
ah, okay.
Yeah, we used Columbus for the bittering.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you do get a little bit of that floral spiciness.
Yeah,
Columbus is always quite
Yeah.
spicy. There's a wee bit of grassiness in there, and a wee teeny bit of earthiness.
And it has that bit of like fineness, like you get. I would even use the West Coast word, like that dankness in it.
Ah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, I get a little bit of like blackberry, blackcurrant as well
Yeah,
behind the
yeah,
raspberries, but yeah, this is
To be
really
honest,
nice.
I even think the blackcurrant is we get a lot of that from the malt profile. We use a lot of special carafas. Those are specialty malts from Lehrmann, which are dehusked. So with that, we are trying to avoid the tanniny taste or astringent taste that usually stays in those roasted malts, those hard roasted malts. So with those specialty carafas, we manage to avoid the astringency in it. So you get a lot more balance in the beer, in the finished product.
Yeah, no, I mean, it smells as if it's going to be really nice. But yeah, let's have a taste of
Let's
this
try.
one.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, Slanja Živeli.
Živio.
Živeli, yeah. Oh, that's really silky. Very silky, very smooth, yeah.
Really easy drinking.
Oh yeah. I mean, the one thing I think it's, it gives the impression it's going to be like really tart,
Yeah.
but it actually just smoothens out really nicely. It's a very well balanced beer.
Yeah, it is. It's people really love it. I'm really happy about it. This is my first big project here, and I'm really satisfied with this one, especially with the rebrew. Rebrew is even better. We managed to get the proper RO filter in this facility, so even with the water, that has to be a bit harder for the Imperials. We managed to do the balanced water profile for it and to get the beer that you see it has a lot of alcohol, it's really smooth, it just runs through your throat and just asks for the next sip and just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, this one for me, this drinks like one of these old school, English 5-6% stouts. But it's just got so much more flavour to it.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
It doesn't leave too much sweetness in the back, which I personally find that not that pleasant in a lot of Imperials, that it's not too oily, too hard on the mouth, and like you don't have to struggle with like taking a sip, it's just like easy flowing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, for me, I'm going to say, well, I do middle of the palate, back of the palate, front of the palate. So we'll go through the beer like that. So middle third of the palate, what do you think?
You can really sense the raspberries. The raspberries stay on your tongue, and they go through everything, like through every sip. They just stay in. You get the coconut in the back when you take a sip and you put it in, and just the coconut stays in the back. And it's just like a balancing thing in it. It's not the prominent. I didn't want the coconut to be forward and like the first thing you sense in this beer. It's basically raspberry centered, let's call it like that.
Exactly. I mean, for me, the malt, I think the malt, the actual stout side of this beer comes out more in the aftertaste. So if I go from middle of the palate, so roasty, toasty bread crust, like a sweet rye bread sort of thing.
Yeah.
Back of that middle third of the palate, you get a bit of the chocolatey thing. So 60-70% cocoa chocolate. As you come forward, you get brown sugar, sweet caramel, but a bit toasty at the same time. And then maybe toward the front of that middle third of the palate, it's a bit more biscuity. You get a little bit of that McVitie's digestive.
That's from the Munichs and Car Munichs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying about I find that the raspberries, they come in very sharp, they disappear, and then they come out later on again. I think
It mellows out, but it stays here. It's not that you lose it, that it goes out. It just stays, which was the goal of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, the malty backbone of this is nice. It feels like a very smooth, silky, like old school English stout in a lot of ways. On just on the malty backbone, it's got a lot of depth to it, this beer. I mean, I find there's a little bit of nuttiness and woodiness and tobacco to it, in a sense.
And at the end, it finishes that dry, which was also the goal. We did mashed low. Just it's basically all for giving that easy drinking sensation.
Yeah.
Just for asking for more.
Yeah.
That was the one of the goals, of the key specs of this beer.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you've pulled off a very nice kind of. It's like an old school stout with just a bit of sour beer twist on it almost. Yeah. Yeah, I think the hoppy side of things, a little bit earthy, a little bit herbal. You get a bit of that oily, grassy, floral thing at the front of the tongue. Yeah. I don't think we need to say anything else about the hoppy side of it, no. But yeah, front third of the palate, this is where the intensity of the fruit comes out. When you take this beer in on first sip, really sharp, tart raspberries, but they melt. For me, the measure of a good sour beer is how it mellows out.
Yeah.
And this beer does that nicely. So when you take it in, you get really sharp, tart raspberries, but then afterwards you're getting juicy fig, you're getting the black currant, the blackberry. This beer really mellows out very nicely. And
I don't know if you're using dry figs. I have we used dry figs, or no, dry plums. Sorry,
okay,
and it has that dry plum sweetness taste to it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's it's pretty popular food here.
Yeah, because in English we say a dried plum is a prune.
Oh, prune. Okay,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We don't have a special word for it, so yeah.
Because I can see that. I can see you get this. You get the oily regular plum, but you also get this dried fruity element to it as well, for sure. But yeah, it's a really nice stout. This one, it is very. As I say, this beer really reminds me of Raspy Engine, which is a raspberry version of Old Engine Oil from Harveston. It's very much like that, but a little bit more kind of silky. Beers, when they're brewed in different breweries, they're going to feel different, the water profile is different, and so on. But if you like Raspy Engine, you will enjoy this. I mean, we've tried 3,000 odd beers on the channel. The most I can do really is say, if you like that, you'll like this. And that's what I'm doing here. If you like Raspy Engine, you're going to enjoy this one, I think. But no, a really solid stout, and it's quite interesting. At 8.5%, I think this covers its alcohol very well. If I tasted this, I would say, that's like a 6%.
Yeah, 5.5, 6 maybe,
exactly,
max 6.5. You would never say it's closer to 9.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I think that it's a difficult thing to do for brewers these days. Everyone, if you're doing Imperial, like 10, 11, you want to go the big beast thing, but I think you've pulled off a really nice middle of the road sort of stout.
And the alcohol is really well hidden in it.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, guys, if you see this one, it's named the Imperial Raspberry and Coconut Stout. If you see this one, there's lots of Garden beers. It's very Garden Brewery is one of these breweries where it's quite difficult to keep track of every beer because they produce so many different things. And yeah, in collaboration with Toten Hopfen. Where are these guys from in Germany? Is it?
I think they are from Germany. They came to us last year, just before we moved. I think this was our first collab with them, and it was awesome. If I'm right, we did our fifth birthday collab. That was one of those. We did 5 beers for our 5th birthday, 5 collaborations, and we did one more with love it. It was double Imperial, double chocolate cheesecake stout.
Oh man!
But that's for another time.
Another time. Yeah.
When we reviewed that one, that was also awesome beer. It was 13% beer, and at that point it was most high ABV ever commercially produced in Croatia.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
After that, a friend of mine from another brewery from Linarica made quadruple with 14.5%.
Oh, right.
So he beat us at that one.
Ah,
yeah.
man, okay. Nice. Well, yeah, guys, mouthfeel to round off then. I think, to be honest, this is it's like bottom end of full bodied. It's not the thickest that you're going to come across, but, you know, as I've always said in the videos, the Scandinavian perspective is very skewed because our Imperial stouts are just crazy. But for an 8.5%er, impressive mouthfeel, smooth, silky, yeah, bottom end of full body for me.
And it dries out at the end. It doesn't leave that full mouth sensation. It kind of dries out, and then you're like, okay, I need to take another sip, and I need to take another beer, and yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, IBU wise, this must be about. You're getting some dryness from the malt, some of the malt. It doesn't feel overly bitter though, like 40-ish. IBUs.
It's 20-ish. 20-ish.
Okay.
It should say on the can. Oh yeah, it's 22.
Ah, okay,
22 IBUs.
So yeah, guys, this is what I say to you. My IBU count is my weakest point of beer reviewing. So yeah, because I would have guessed like 40 because there's a bit of roasty toastiness to it. So 22 IBUs. Yeah, but for me, sweet, silky, lovely malt base to it, bit of tartness. It's just a really nice all-round beer, and it kind of shows you the old school English beers, but with that little bit of a modern kind of sourness to it.
Old school, new school hybrid.
Exactly, yeah. It's really nice. And like we said, this was Tomo. This was your first kind of beer that was your baby.
Yeah, this was my idea, and I was really into it. And I'm glad that I have good enough bosses to let me do whatever I want. So
exactly, yeah. I mean, as I say, guys, I don't know how well distributed this one is across Europe, but if Harveston Brewery from Scotland, they go everywhere. If you like the Raspy Engine from Harveston Brewery, this one, the Imperial Raspberry and Coconut Stout, 8.5% from Garden Brewery. If you like Raspy Engine, you will enjoy this. Yeah, but cool. Really cool to be able to try Tomo's baby beer with Tomo himself. So, thanks for jumping on and doing this, and thanks for the tour as well.
No problem.
That was cool.
No problem.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah. So, guys, we'll round off this one there. Tomo's determined to get me very drunk. Croatian people are like this, so I need to sneak these beers into the fridge there, let them stay cool, and yeah, you'll see more tastings in a minute. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Catch you guys with the next tasting in a little while. Cheers. Thanks, Tomo. Alright guys, so yeah, this is a little look at my burger and fries that I got from Submarine. I have to say, it looks pretty good. I'm going to get rid of the lettuce and stuff because, I'm Scottish and we don't do green. But yeah, I think you can agree, this looks pretty damn good, I have to say. Alright guys, well, let's try the burger here then from Submarine. So yeah, I just ordered, I told them pretty much I wanted like a bacon double cheeseburger. It had a little bit of kind of vegetable and stuff on it, so yeah, I kind of got rid of all the green things. But let's have a little taste of this and see how we go. This should be pretty nice. Barbecue sauce, bacon, cheese. What can go wrong here? Let's look at it. Yeah. No, this is a pretty awesome bacon double cheeseburger. You can't say much more than that. Look at that. Very, very good. Yeah. The sauce is lovely, the cheese is lovely, the bacon's good. That's a really nice burger. When I came here to Garden Brewery, I was already a little bit kind of steaming because of the beers that I had from Pilfer Brewery, but this is certainly going to sober me up. Let's have a little look at the fries. So they gave me some nice fries with barbecue sauce here. barbecue sauce and cheese. This will be pretty awesome. So let's look at this too. Yeah, melted cheese and barbecue sauce. This is going to be great. Oh yeah. No, barbecue sauce is very, very sweet. Yeah, this is going to be enough to sober me up. I'm going to say that straight away. Yeah, very, very good. Just look at this. This is as stretchy as the cheese goes. There we go. Just got a big lump of cheese. But yeah, really nice stuff here actually. Going to have to polish this off over the next 10-15 minutes. But yeah, this is very, very good, I have to say. I really like how this turned out. Oh, yeah. You're going to get good burgers, you're going to get good fries here at Garden Brewery. I'm going to finish this off and we'll do some more beer tastings in a little while. Catch you guys in just a second. Alright guys, well, time for another tasting then here at Garden Brewery. So the next beer we're going to have a little look at goes on to the IPA part of the spectrum. So this particular beer is called Hazy IPA, Hop Showcase number 10. Comes in at 6.2% ABV, and this one has some very familiar hops in it. So Galaxy from Australia, El Dorado and Mosaic from America. So yeah, this should be quite nice. I have had one or two New England hazy, whatever you want to call them, Paleos and IPAs from Garden Brewery, and they always tend to be quite nice actually. So this should be very nice. At 6.2% ABV, this is one of the lower ABV beers you'll find on the Garden Brewery scale, but still quite happy to try this one. It should be quite nice. So yeah, 440 milliliter can, this one. Supposed to kind of resemble the American pint at 473. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So, have a wee look at this. It's pouring quite nicely, I'm going to say, just let you guys see this. So, yeah, this looks pretty good, I have to say. So, this one, as you can see, the glass, I did rinse this out before, but you can see the glass has quite a few big bubbles sticking toward the side of it, but you can see a nice kind of two-finger frothy, perfect white head on this one. As you'd expect from the New England IPA, it's got a good level of haze to it. The colour, yeah, bright kind of mango juice sort of thing. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on the type of malts you use, the length of your wort boil, any adjuncts that you use, any barley aging that you do, and so on. But when it comes to New England IPAs, of course, you only have to care about type of malt and the length of your wort boil. But yeah, lovely kind of bright yellow mango juice colour beer, this one. Yeah, artwork on the can, as we see, quite simple, but the beer itself, I always wonder that with these Garden Brewery beers, you get that nice, there's always part of the artwork that's the same colour. So yeah, I like how this goes together. So yeah, nice kind of mango juice colour, this beer. I don't think there's anything else we need to say about this one in terms of appearance, so let's have a wee look at the aroma then. Straight away, once again, you can smell that this beer is very fresh. You get a little bit of that kind of hop pellet sort of thing. You can smell that kind of dusty green component to it. Yeah, it's very nice. For me, as I've always explained to you, there's 6 components you need to think about when it comes to New England IPAs. The sort of yeasty farmhouse side of things, the rye leaning grainy side of things too. Those are a bit more prominent in American brewed New England IPAs. Then you have the wheaty bitey things, the oaty creamy, the barley malt red, and also the sweet kind of, you know, how do we say, like butterscotchy, butter candy type things. These are the 6 elements to think about when it comes to New England IPA. For me, straight away, this one comes across really citrusy, really quite zesty and so on, quite wheaty in its malt base actually. So yeah, backbone of this beer for me really leans toward that kind of zippy, wheaty sort of thing. Backbone though, you do get a nice little bit of fresh white bread crust, some soft but still fluffy kind of hedgehog bread. On top of that, you can smell some slightly dry oaty notes out of the beer. But then, yeah, definitely at the back of the nose, this beer is very kind of wheaty and bitey and so on. Yeah, malt base is quite interesting just for the fact it doesn't have a big sweet component to it. This is a little bit more old school in terms of the New England IPAs. Definitely a wee bit more kind of just, yeah, as I say, bready and zippy in a sense. So definitely a more wheaty, zippy leaning New England IPA, this one for sure. On the hoppy side of things, the green component for me is leaning toward that floral side of the spectrum, big sort of floral component and a nice kind of zesty grassy character. The hops in this one, we know that Galaxy, 14% alpha acid, big Australian hop, you know, big strong passion fruit and mango-y notes, bit of pineapple. El Dorado, a slightly softer American hop. For me, that's always a bit mango-y, apricot-y, pineapple-y. Mosaic, American once again, 14% alpha acid, oily tangerine oranges. So it's got a good balance in it, this one, but I really find this beer leans toward a more zesty, bitey sort of thing. So yeah, hoppy side of things, there's a little bit of earthiness there from the Mosaic, I would say. Big floral aromatic component from all of these hops. Remember, New England IPAs rely on late addition hopping, last half hour of the wort boil. That gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma. A lot of dry hopping as well. So big, bright floral component, some nice zesty grassiness in there. And yeah, I think that summarises the green component of this one. Fruity side of things, yeah, strong passion fruit, good bit of juicy mango. You have got little hints of that lighter apricot and pineapple sort of thing. But yeah, for me, there's a good little bit of an orangey, big oily orange from the Mosaic in this. But yeah, quite an interesting combination of hops in this one, and the beer certainly smells very nice. So yeah, this is the Hazy IPA Hop Showcase number 10 from Garden Brewery. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, cheers, Jiveli. That's pretty damn nice. I'm going to say it's only 6.2%. It's certainly not the heaviest New England that we've come across, but it's really, at the same time, it's still quite nice and light and drinkable. Yeah, the more that I drink of it, and I've only taken one sip, I say this, but it really starts to lean toward that oaty side of things. There's a lot of oaty creaminess to this beer. So yeah, malty backbone of the beer. There's a little bit of a kind of fresh bread crusty sort of thing. Yeah, a little bit of fresh bread crust. On top of that, dense barley malt white bread for sure. You can feel the wheat thickening this beer out. On the back third of the palate, the wheat gives you a little bit of that kind of zippy, bitey sort of thing. And in the middle third of the palate, you can feel there's a little bit of a smooth oaty note down the very middle of the tongue. So that's quite interesting too. But you can also feel the oaty notes drying out the further out toward the edge of the palate that you go. In the dead centre of the palate, you do get a little bit of that Werther's Original butter candy, slightly sweet side of things, and then there's a wee bit of biscuit in there too. So the malty side of this beer is quite nicely done. But on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate it's on the hoppy side, it's actually quite similar to what I described in the aroma. Back corners of the palate, there's a wee bit of earthiness. You should come further forward, very bright floral aromatic note, and round the front curve of the tongue, definitely quite zesty and citrusy for sure. So yeah, the green component is quite nice in this one. It's a really easy drinking beer, this for sure. On the fruity side of things, it's quite soft and oaty and bready, as we say, on that front third of your palate. Then you've got all these fruity notes behind it. There's a good little bit of passion fruit, there's a wee bit of soft mango, apricot, there's a wee bit of apricot and papaya as well. Then on the front part of that front third of your palate, it's a bit more orangey. So yeah, back half of your palate is more Galaxy and El Dorado for sure. Galaxy's giving you that more intense tropical note, but the Mosaic is coming out a little bit further forward. You get that nice orangey note. It's a really nice, just easy-going New England IPA, this one. It's quite light and drinkable at the same time. You can't ask for much more than that. There's so many New Englands on the market these days. So yeah, mouthfeel-wise then, to round off. Yeah, mouthfeel-wise, this beer for me, mid-bodied, carbonation's quite smooth, but at the same time the beer has a degree of crispness to it, quite clean. Yeah, the malt base has a little bit of, it's got a bit of smoothness to it, a real bit of sweetness. Yeah, it goes together really quite well in that sense. IBU wise, I think this is a fairly standard 30 IBU beer. That's typical of the New England style. Malt base, quite smooth. This is more an old school New England IPA without too much in the way of a sweet component. But yeah, you've got a nice balance between the tropical fruit and the kind of more citrusy, zesty, fruity side of this beer too. But yeah, this was the Hazy IPA Hop Showcase number 10 from Garden Brewery here in Zagreb. I'll catch you in a second with another tasting. Slange you just now. Okay guys, so a little look at the tap list that's available for you here today. They have the regular stout at 5.7% ABV, but you can see these prices are listed in kuna. So remember that 7.5 kuna is €1, about 7 kuna is £1 sterling, maybe about 8 kuna is $1 American, just for those of you watching in different places. But yeah, they have the regular stout, the Imperial Almond Coffee Stout, Double Affogato Stout, Raspberry Coconut Stout. You move over here, they have the Pilsner Paleo, New England Paleo number 9, the Farmhouse Paleo. They have the Session IPA, Hazy Double IPA number 9, West Coast IPA, Fredo Fox New England IPA, Imperial Florida Vice, and there you can see the Garden Brewery symbol. But yeah, they have some really nice symbols behind the different beer taps here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I have to say, beautiful little facility here next to the bar. It's pretty awesome, and as they say, follow the golden road. Alright guys, well, time for our next beer tasting then. So the next one I think could be quite interesting. So this is a style that I haven't had before from Garden Brewery, so I have to say I'm very curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. So this one is simply called the Imperial Apricot, Mandarin and Lemon Sour. It comes in at 6.4% ABV and it's brewed in collaboration with Fredo Fox. So yeah, curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. Once again, it is a 440 milliliter can. This one, I think they said it will go on sale toward the end of June. But yeah, let's have a little look at this one and see what we've got. We'll crack it open and see how we go. But this is the first time I can think of that I've had a specifically lemon and orange sour. Mandarin, of course, just a special type of orange, I guess we could say. But yeah, let's get this guy out into the glass and see what we have. So there we are. This should be quite nice. Yeah, so as you can see, this beer's poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head, but you can see the colour of this beer is very nice actually. Lovely kind of rich, sort of big deep amber almost kind of akin to some of the more boozy New England IPAs that we've come across in recent times. You can see the glass is quite fresh, so you know the carbonation is sticking towards the side of it. But in terms of what you'd expect from an apricot, mandarin and lemon sour, yeah, nothing too surprising about this one. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on the malt content, the length of your wort boil, and also the adjuncts that you put in the beer. So I wouldn't be surprised if the mandarin and the apricot in particular are contributing a little bit to the colour of this one. But yeah, it certainly looks the part of what you'd expect from this kind of sour beer. So let's have a look at the aroma of this and see how we get on. Yeah, aroma wise, this is very nice. Like I said, I believe this might well be one of the first sour beers that I've tried from Garden Brewery, if I'm not mistaken. Straight away with this beer, you can smell a little bit of that kind of fresh white bread crust. That forms the backbone of the beer. So yeah, fresh white bread crust. On top of that, definitely some soft, fluffy white bread. You can smell it at the back of the nose. There is a little bit of a thicker wheaty note to the beer. You're also getting some nice kind of oaty creaminess. As a sour beer, this one kind of demonstrates some of the typical sort of yogurty, petit filou type notes that I often talk about with these styles of beer. Yeah, it certainly has a little bit of that in the middle of the nose for sure. There's a little bit of a kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type thing. Yeah, aroma wise, The malty side of this beer goes together quite nicely, but yeah, bread crust, white bread, a little bit of wheat, a little bit of oat, and then a little bit of sweetness in there. But definitely some of those big yogurty, kind of petit filou type characters coming out of the beer. On the hoppy side of things, back of the nose there is a little bit of earthiness there. You've got some nice bright floral aromaticity, and you've also got a bit of a brighter grassiness coming out of this one too. So yeah, everything that you would expect of this beer is quite nice. So on the fruity side of things, behind, the backbone of the beer is that big zesty lemon, but behind that you are getting some of the very sharp mandarins, of course, but also some of the softer apricots. But the beer for me does have a little bit of an almost peary note to it, a little bit of a kind of sultana type vibe as well, some of these dry white green grapey notes. Yeah, aroma wise it goes together very, very nice, and it has my approval for sure. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we need to say about the aroma in this one, so it's probably just as well that we move on and have a taste of this beer. So yeah, this is the Imperial Apricot Mandarin and Lemon Sour at 6.4% ABV from Garden Brewery here in Zagreb, brewed in collaboration with Fredo Fox. So let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers, živeli. Here we go. Yeah, I'm going to say straight away, that is pretty zippy and it has a real impact to it. This is one of the things you need to consider with sour beers. Quite often, sour beers have a hell of an impact to them, but they mellow out, really nicely. This one really maintains a very kind of sharp and puckering quality to it, but when it's lemon and mandarin that are involved, you can kind of expect that. Berry sours, I think, mellow out a little bit slightly more than this kind of one. But yeah, flavour-wise, it's very, very nice. This stylistically, it's maybe along the lines of like a Berliner Weisse or something like that. But yeah, this is really pretty solid, I have to say. Yeah, it's certainly one of the more citrusy and sharper sour beers that I've come across in recent times. Just noticed that I've got some barbecue sauce on my wrist there. It's just how it goes. But yeah, I like this. I certainly like how this goes together. So let's break this beer down then, as we always do. On the malty side of things then, a little bit of a fresh bread, hedgehog bread crusty sort of thing. Definitely some white bread on top of that. Toward the back of the palate, the back third of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of zippy, wheaty character to this one. Down the middle line of your tongue, there is certainly some oaty character. It's not the creamiest and sort of more yogurty type of sour beer that I've come across, but it still works really nicely. I get a little slight hint of yogurty character toward the front of that middle third of your palate. But yeah, in the dead centre of your tongue, you're going to get a little bit of kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type thing. So yeah, if we're classing this one as a Berliner Weisse or whatever, it's certainly one of the more kind of sour leaning ones that I've, certainly one of the more malty leaning ones I would say than I've come across before. It's not quite got that big creamy element that you might often expect from this style in the modern time. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we can really say about the malty side of this beer. Let's focus on the hoppy and fruity side of things. Back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it's a little bit more herbal, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, you start to get some nice floral notes. But round the front curve of the palate, a little bit lighter and more grassy for sure. There is definitely a little bit of hop presence to this particular beer. But let's focus on the fruity side of things and the sour side of the beer as well. But yeah, when you take this one in, I'm going to say the sour impact of this beer is pretty damn impressive. The sour side of things, you get a lot of lemon out of this right away. It's really sharp and almost quite puckering, but it mellows out quite nicely. Behind that, you get the juicier mandarin. That helps mellow out the beer. but on that front third of your palate, the apricot comes out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, this beer for me, it's certainly one of the more puckering and sharp sour beers I've come across in recent times. I like it, but you know, this 440 milliliter can that Tomo gave me, this is definitely one that you share between 2, maybe 3 people, because it's quite sharp. So if you buy this in the bottle shop, yeah, definitely think, right, you know, share this one with somebody. It's a very nice beer, but like I say, quite a bit sharper than some of the other sours I've come across in recent times. Yeah, to round off this one then with the mouthfeel. So, mouthfeel wise, when it comes to the sour beers, it's bottom end to mid-bodied for me. I always find sour beers are a bit lighter than others, of course. So yeah, bottom end to mid-bodied, smooth carbonation, quite oily but a little bit creamy at the same time. But you know, slightly slick and oily. IBU wise, I think we're talking like, you know, 5 IBUs at most. The malt base is really nice and smooth, a little bit creamy, but that takes a little bit of time to come out. Then on the fruity side of things, as we said, it's really sharp and tart in the beginning, kind of almost puckering from that lemony note. The lemon really dominates in this one for sure. Then you get a bit of the mandarin, and you start to get the apricot in the aftertaste of this beer. But like I say, it's one of these beers that takes a little bit of time to kind of get used to a little bit. But I think it's very nicely done. You know, you have to just, this is one that you sort of share. This is a tasting beer rather than one that you should sit and enjoy yourself. But yeah, this is the Imperial Apricot, Mandarin and Lemon Sour from Garden Brewery. And if you've just seen on the side, it's got a little bit of cardamom in it as well. So that's quite interesting. You do get a little bit of that in the taste. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Very, very nice beer. That's the end of tasting number 4, if I'm not mistaken. Slanger just now. Alright, so guys, yeah, just next to the bar pretty much, you have a nice little fridge here where you can buy some of the different beers. So yeah, they have Pilsner, they have just the regular stout, the Paleo, the IPA, India Paleo, Imperial Peach, Vanilla and Ginger Sour, which sounds quite interesting. The Imperial Flat White Coffee Porter, Hazy IPA number 11, a few kind of crates and things. But yeah, if you go over here, the Imperial Strawberry, Apricot and Lemon Sour, Passion Fruit Peach and Pineapple Sour, Imperial Mandarin and Lemon Goza, one that is just called Sour, yeah. So then the Hazy IPA Hop Showcase number 10, Hazy IPA number 11 again, the Imperial Raspberry and Coconut Stout, and then also the double Imperial Affogato Stout. So yeah, some pretty nice beers available here in the Garden Brewery fridges. So yeah. Alright guys, well, another tasting then here at Garden Brewery. So the next one takes us to the other end of the sour beer scale. So this next beer is called the Imperial Blueberry, Orange Peel and Cacao Sour. So they describe this one as fruity, earthy and complex with copious amounts of sweet tart blueberries, rich cocoa nibs and tangy orange peel. Comes in at 8% ABV, so again I think this should be very, very interesting. So yeah, we're going from a more kind of citrusy and zesty sour to something a little bit more kind of berry-like and chocolatey. So this should be very, very interesting. Let's crack it open and see what we get. I'm not sure what else we can say about this one in the beginning, but let's do this and see what we have. If I can get the thing open. There we are. So yeah, let's do this. Let's do a pour. Oh, now I have to say this looks very, very nice. Yeah. So colour-wise then, this beer, you can see it's poured with a lovely, just under a finger of a bumpy kind of pink coloured head. You can see lovely sort of burgundy wine coloured beer, 1 or 2 big bubbles at the bottom of the glass, a few very small ones floating up toward the bottom of the head there, but overall it looks very, very nice. But yeah, definitely a nice kind of burgundy red wine colour, this one for sure. I don't think we can say anything else about the appearance of this beer, so let's have a wee look at the aroma and see what we get out of this one. Oh yeah. Now that's pretty interesting. As we say, blueberries and orange in this one. You can really smell that sort of competition for the aroma in this. So you've got that lovely big juicy blueberry element out of it. Also some of the tartness there as well. But you can also smell that big juicy orange component too. This is really interesting. Pardon me. I think I took a little bit of that in the wrong way or something. But yeah, the juicy berries, the orange peel really sticking out of this one. But underneath that, you do have that big kind of bready component. So yeah, I mean, aroma-wise, this beer, it's very it's nice and juicy, but you've also got this kind of savoury quality to it, which I really like. So the backbone of the beer, there's a little bit of bread crust, there's a bit of a smooth kind of white, brown, bready character to it as well. So yeah, you can smell a little bit of that dryness from the cocoa nib, but you're also getting some kind of milky, chocolatey notes out of it. Yeah, I don't really know what to make of this beer, to be honest with you. This is really, really unusual. You know, 8% ABV, it's quite a bit stronger than the last sour beer that we had from these guys. But yeah, so like I say, bread crust, some white bread in there, some brown bread for sure. You can smell the cocoa nib, definitely a bit of that more oily, chocolatey, browny sort of thing, some brown sugars as well, some oily kind of caramelly notes. And then yeah, on top of that, you're getting a few other things going on. Yeah, it smells almost a little touch, it almost smells a little touch tobacco-y and woody, this one, in terms of its malty backbone. Really unusual beer in terms of its aroma, but on the fruity side of things, as we say, you get that nice kind of zesty orange peel character to it. You also get that bright, juicy blueberry sort of thing, a mix between the juicy side of things and the more kind of tart side that you expect of blueberries. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, a little touch of earthiness, some grassiness, a little bit of floral character, but the hoppy side of this beer is really taking a back seat. I think that's fair enough to say. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we can really say about the aroma of this one. So yeah, this is the Imperial Blueberry Orange Peel and Cacao Sour, 8% ABV from Garden Brewery here in Zagreb. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers, Živeli. Oh yeah. Now this is very different in its approach than the other one. How do we say this? It's at the same time when you take it in, it's very, very wet and juicy, but it's also, this one really is a lot more of a pastry sour, I think, than the other one was. The other one was a little bit more of a kind of smoothie sour. This one is definitely more savoury and pastry-like. Again, the thing I would say about this is the sort of beer that you get and you share with a few friends. It's not a kind of session beer, if that makes sense. This is definitely a taster rather than a sessioner. So yeah, this one's quite interesting to get used to. It's like quite a savoury, almost pastry sour. Let's just break it down and explain it as we always do. So yeah, in the middle of your palate in this beer, you get a little bit of that bread crusty note. There is a little bit of a more kind of brown bready sort of thing in this one, and this beer gets drier and drier in its malty characteristics the further you go into the aftertaste. So you'll feel that straight away. Bread crust, brown bread. Toward the back of your palate in this one, you're going to get some. You are definitely going to get a bit more of that kind of cocoa nib coming out of the beer. So yeah, cocoa nib dryness. A sort of 70-80% cocoa character to this beer for sure. On top of the brown bread, there's a little bit of brown sugar, a little bit of a sweet caramel, but still quite toasty at the same time. Definitely more of a kind of savoury pastry sour, this one, rather than anything else. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you've got a little bit more of a kind of nutty and woody character coming out of the beer. yeah, I don't know if there's anything else we really need to say about the malty side of things. There are one or two little nutty elements coming out of this beer the further that we go into it as well. But this is really quite interesting for sure. Yeah, I think we said everything we need to say about the malty characteristics in this beer. Let's focus on the hoppy and the sour side of the beer. Back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness to it. As you move further forward, it's a little bit herbal. Front corners of the palate, there's a wee bit of floral note to it. Around the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit more kind of grassy and things, but there's not too much in the way of a hop presence in this beer. It tells you actually on the back of this, it tells you all about, you know, the malt profile: Pilsner malt, wheat malt, flaked wheat, jumbo oats, Carafa Special 3. Kind of makes sense, to be honest with you, and it does have Magnum hops in it. So yeah, but as I say, the hoppy side of things in this, quite floral, and it does give you a bit of dryness for sure. But let's focus on that front third of the palate and the fruity side of things and the sour side of the beer. It's quite, when you take this one in, it really has a little bit of sharpness to it. When you take it in, you get that big kind of tartness from the blueberries, and blueberries can either be very juicy or they can be very sharp. But yeah, this one, the sharpness actually lingers quite a little bit in this. So the blueberry sharpness comes in and gives you that from the beginning, but then it mellows out a bit and you start to get a little bit of this kind of juicy figgy quality, a more juicy blueberry sort of thing. Yeah, there's a wee bit of a kind of candy strawberry note to the beer as well. Yeah, it does give you, in the aftertaste, it gives you a little bit of this kind of smoothie sour type thing. So yeah, when you take it in, it is quite sharp and tart in a way from the blueberries, but then yeah, you start to get some of the more kind of smoothie fruit elements out of this one later. But the malty profile of this beer is definitely more along the lines of like a pastry sour. So this beer, for me, is really trying to find a balance between being a smoothie sour and a pastry sour. But it works. It does work really nice to this. But again, this one's a tasting beer for me. This is the sort of beer that you get and you share between a couple of friends rather than drinking it all yourself. So yeah, quite interesting. Mouthfeel wise, smooth carbonation, top end mid-bodied, a little bit creamy but still quite oily and slick. IBUs, I think we're talking 5 to 10 IBUs. That's quite common for these sour beers. The malty side of things, a bit sweet, but it does get drier and drier the further into the aftertaste you go. There's a wee bit of oily fruitiness in this. The impact of this beer is quite sharp and tart, and yeah, you've got a nice juicy fruitiness to it. Yeah, it's an interesting sour beer, this one. I actually think I prefer the lemon, mandarin and apricot sour a little bit more, even as puckering as it was. I think I like that straight up fruity side to this one. Pastry sours are a style, as a style collectively, it's something that still needs to convince me a little bit more. So yeah, I think I prefer the last one we had to this one a little bit, but it's still a very nice solid beer. So this is definitely more of a kind of berry pastry sour sort of thing, but it works, and if you're into pastry sours, I'm sure you will enjoy this. So I think we can leave it at that for this one. This is the Imperial Blueberry, Orange Peel and Cacao Sour, 8% ABV, an Imperial pastry sour I think we can call it, from Garden Brewery. So we've got another couple of beers to try, but yeah, that's it for this one. Catch you in a second. Alright guys, time for another tasting then. So the next beer that we have is one of my favourite styles of beer, a West Coast IPA, and this should be quite interesting. So this beer is part of a series that Garden Brewery have done in collaboration with Beer 52 and also with the charity Restore Our Earth. So the whole point of this series is to promote greenness, you know, sustainability, all of this kind of thing, basically to promote, yeah, environmental friendliness and so on. Quite a lot of these beers have different animals on the cans, This one, as you can see, has a special type of ox from Norway, which is called the Dofrefjell. So the other thing I should mention about this particular beer is that it's brewed in collaboration with Lervig Brewery. There are 13 different beers in this particular series, but this is one of the ones that kind of caught my eye because I love West Coast IPAs. So yeah, this particular beer, West Coast Double Dry Hopped IPA, a collaboration between Garden Brewery here in Zagreb and Lervig Brewery, who are from Stavanger in Norway. 6% West Coast IPA. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's have a little look at how this beer looks. So as you can see, lovely rich amber colour. When it poured out of the can, we had about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head. One or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it looks very, very nice. You can see nice kind of clear colour to it. Looks great. Everything you would expect from a West Coast IPA. I love this style. Not enough of them around these days. So, in my opinion at least. So yeah, let's take a little look at the aroma of this one. Straight away, this one has that old school kind of boozy, brown sugary note you would want of the style. So yeah, a little bit of a kind of fresh bread crusty sort of thing. Brown bready sort of character as well. Yeah, a good bit of white bread, some straight up sweet caramel, a little bit, pardon me, of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of character. Yeah, on the malty side of things, it's everything you'd want. In the back of the nose, it smells a little bit brighter and more bready. Yeah, malty side of things is really, really nice in this. On the hoppy side of things, this is interesting. Like I said to you, West Coast IPAs use the three types of bittering. Early edition hopping, late edition hopping and dry hopping. Early edition hopping gives you all of the bitterness in the beer. You can smell that right away with this one. This has a really nice deep, dank, sort of piney and floral note to it. It smells very old school for sure. So yeah, a little bit of an earthiness to it, some big piney resins, nice bright floral aromaticity as well, and a good little bit of a kind of grassy, zesty note. A really, really nice smelling beer, this one. I think there's no doubt in my mind about that. Yeah, green component is really nice, big and floral. It really leans towards that side of things. The hoppy side of this beer feels very, very familiar. A little bit of grapefruit, definitely some kind of mango notes. Yeah, grapefruit, passion fruit, mango. Yeah, a lot of orange for me as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this has something along the lines of Mosaic or Amarillo in it. But it smells very, very old school. And like I said to you, I've been missing the West Coast IPAs for a very, very long time. But this is a big, oily beast of a beer. Yeah, this is everything you want from a West Coast IPA aroma-wise. That big boozy caramel, the big oily hoppy character, that big fruitiness. Let's have a taste of this and see how we go. So yeah, simply called West Coast Double Dry Hopped IPA, 6% ABV, collaboration between Garden Brewery here in Zagreb and Lervig Brewery from Stavanger up in Norway. Slange, skål, cheers, Sibeli. Now, I'm going to say, this one is one of these more modern takes on the West Coast IPA. First off, it doesn't give you that big 70, 80 IBU bitterness that you expect of the style if you started drinking it back in 2010, 2012, this sort of thing. But it goes together really nicely regardless. It's got all the flavour profile you expect, just not quite the same bitterness. So, malty profile, a little bit of fresh, that little bit of kind of bread crusty quality, bit of brown bread, bit of white bread for sure. Then in the middle of your palate, there's a bit of a straight up oily caramel, a little bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. Yeah, it's got that big oily boozy character you expect of the West Coast IPA. One or two little crackery and woody notes to it. Yeah, I mean, West Coast IPA wise, it's really solid. It's just as I say, it's definitely more of a modern take on the style rather than the big old school bitter beast of a thing you'd expect from like hardcore IPA, something like that. Yeah, I do like this one. It's got the oily character that I would want from this. I think we said everything we need about the malty side of the beer. Let's look at the hoppy side of things. A little bit of earthy character, a wee bit of floral, a little bit of herbal character, as you say. As you move further forward, it's a bit more floral, not quite as piney and dank as I thought it might be, but around the front curve of the palate, a little bit lighter and grassy. On the fruity side of things then, yeah, fruity side of things, a little bit of a passion fruit, an oily passion fruit. As you move further forward, a wee bit more mango-like. There's a bit of that drier apricot-y note to it as well. Yeah, passion fruit, mango, a little bit of apricot, maybe a little bit of that kind of sultana, dried white green grapey character as well. But then as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, distinctly more orangey and a very oily, zesty orange at that, I would say. So, yeah, I like how this goes together. It has that, old school vibe about the beer, a bit of grapefruit, a bit of orange. You can't go wrong. It's really that kind of beer. So yeah, big, oily, fruity characteristics for me. Yeah, to round off then, on the mouthfeel side of this beer, top end of full bodied, bottom end of full bodied, I could say. Yeah, top end of mid bodied, bottom end full bodied. Smooth carbonation, nice and oily. Yeah, really nice. IBU wise, I think this is a kind of 40 IBU beer. It's got a little bit more bitterness than the New England's, but not enough to blow the head off you. 40 IBUs I think is fair. Malty base is nice and thick and oily, which is what you want from this style. And you've also got that big oily fruity character to it. But yeah, mid-bodied, smooth carbonation, nice oily and slick beer this. This was really nice. So yeah, this was the West Coast Double Dry Hopped IPA, a collaboration between Garden Brewery here in Zagreb, Lervigati Brewery and Stavanger up in Norway with Restore Our Earth, the project, which is a nice charity. So yeah, that's the end of this tasting then, a solid West Coast IPA. In my opinion, really nice beer. As you quite often get with West Coast IPAs these days though, maybe a little bit more bitterness, but I like it. It's awesome. Let's leave it at that for this one. It's landing just now. So yeah guys, I got a little bit of chicken from Full Circle Chicken. We've got some strips and some popcorn chicken, and it looks pretty nice, so let's have a taste of it and see what we have here. Right guys, so let's have a taste of some chicken. So we have a bit of popcorn chicken, we have a bit of strip chicken. I was told I should pick up the garlic mayo, but yeah, I can't be arsed walking back to it now. There's too many beers being involved in this. So yeah, popcorn chicken first off. Yeah. Easy peasy. Really nice. Popcorn chicken. Juicy. Everything you want. Let's have a little look at the strips. Let's look at this. Yeah. Easy peasy. I mean, really solid fried chicken. To be honest, I don't know what else you can say about it. It tastes like chicken, it's fried, it's nice. That's it. That's your review of the chicken. Better with beer. There we go. Catch you in a sec. Alright guys, time for another tasting then here at Garden Brewery. So for this one, we are going to have a look at another in the Restore Our Earth series. So this time, we have a beer that is half Croatian, half Brazilian. So yeah, this should be quite interesting. It's a style that I've not tried too many of, and I'm really looking forward to it. But both of these breweries have featured on the channel before. So this one is called Coast IPA. It comes in at 5.8% ABV. It's a collaboration between Garden Brewery here in Zagreb and Dadiva, who come from Sao Paulo in Brazil. So yeah, Dadiva, in my experience, are well known for their big, juicy, fruity sour beers, but also for their New England IPAs as well. So pretty cool to see that they're spreading their name a little bit here in Europe. But yeah, like I said, this one is a cold IPA, basically an IPA brewed with a lager yeast. 5.8% ABV. This should be quite interesting. So, the beer poured out in the can, it looks pretty much like a Helles lager. When it poured, it had about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head. You can see when I bring this up to the camera, lovely kind of pale golden straw colour, one or two little bits of carbonation sticking toward the side of the glass there. A few smaller bubbles going up toward the bottom of the head there, but it looks nice, and you can see there is a little bit of sediment floating around in this one, which is quite nice. But yeah, in terms of what you would expect from a cold IPA, from what I gather, these beers are supposed to look kind of similar to like Pilsners, Helles lagers, this kind of thing. So let's look at the aroma of this one and see what we have here. Straight away, going to say this one, very, very limey, very kind of melony in its fruity character. Yeah, usually, makes sense. So when I look at the hoppy side of this thing, Equinaut, Citra, Simcoe. Equinaut is a big limey bastard of a hop. You know, about 14% alpha acid, American. Yeah, this is an all-American beer, this one. So Equinaut, Citra, Simcoe, it makes sense. Citra is going to give you that big limey character too. So yeah, lots of big limey elements coming out of this one. Yeah, that's what dominates the aroma of this beer straight away. Yeah, big oily limey character. Let's look at the malty side of things though. So backbone of the beer, lovely little bit of kind of fresh bread crust, a little bit of that white bready sort of thing, and you also smell a bit of that kind of, you can smell the sort of Pilsner malt crispness coming out of this one, but at the same time you have that nice kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit, bread crust, all of these kind of things. Yeah, that oily, boozy, biscuity sort of thing, that sweeter, biscuity character. Brown bread, white bread, that crisp Pilsner malty sort of thing. Yeah, it goes together. It really goes together really nicely, this one. The malt base is very, very oily. Yeah, the malty side of things on this one is very, very nice. I don't think we need to say anything else about the malty side of this beer. It's got a kind of sort of IPL Pilsner type backbone to it, but it works, it really works very, very nicely. On the hoppy side of things then, nice little bit of earthiness, very bright floral character, lovely little bit of zesty grassiness. That makes sense when you've got Equinaut and Citra in the mix, but the fruity side of this beer is really big and oily for sure. Yeah, on the fruity side of things, big passion fruity notes, bit of an oily mango as well. But yeah, for me, lots and lots of limey character. The Equinaut and the Citra really combining to give you that big limey sort of thing. And I've noticed that the first cold IPA I tried was actually at Bevlog a few days before I'm filming this video, and it was very, very nice. But I've noticed that in the Balkan countries, they seem to enjoy a very limey, oily IPA. So I can understand exactly why this sort of beer is the kind of profile that they would enjoy. But yeah, for me, this is a big limey, oily sort of beer, this one. So yeah, this beer is simply called Cold IPA, 5.8% ABV, a lager yeasted IPA from Garden Brewery here in Zagreb, and Dadiva, who are from Sao Paulo in Brazil. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, cheers, here we go. Yeah, this is really very nice, big oily. Yeah, big oily beast of a beer. I really like how this goes together, absolutely. Yeah, this is very much like a big oily kind of lager beer, this one. It's really interesting. It goes together so well. Yeah, I think this cold IPA as a style, generally speaking, is something that I need to explore a little bit more. So you've got this big oily Pilsnery type vibe to the beer, but yeah, it goes together really nicely. It gets a big thumbs up to me. Let's break this beer down though and describe it a little bit more in depth. So, backbone of the beer, a little bit of that kind of fresh bread crusty sort of thing. Smooth but still quite dense, thick white bready character. On top of the white bread, you start to get a bit of the sweet caramel in the middle of your palate, but as you move further out from that, you get a little bit of the more McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing coming out of this. So yeah, you have this big, pardon me, oily, pilsnery kind of thing coming out of this one. And it works, it really works very, very well. I don't think there's anything else we need to say about this one other than that you get a little bit of a kind of crackery, a little bit of a kind of Jacob's cream cracker sort of thing the further you go into the aftertaste for the beer.
And here it goes.
Yeah, I like this. I really like this. Yeah. Further back on the palate, you get a little bit more of that kind of farmhousey, kind of crackery sort of thing coming out of it. On the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of earthiness. As you come further forward, it's a little bit herbal, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, it's a lot brighter and a lot more kind of floral and aromatic. Around the front curve of the tongue, though, lighter and grassy, but the green component overall is quite oily, and I found that in the Bevog cold IPA that I had the other day as well. This certainly is quite interesting for sure. Yeah, let's focus on the fruity side of this beer then, the front third of your palate. So base at the front third of your palate, definitely a little bit bready, a little bit bread crusty. Toward the back of that front third of your palate, there's a nice little bit of passion fruit coming out of this one. When you've got Citra and Simcoe involved in here, that makes absolute sense.
There's one guy that's worked for 40 years. His name is Dudo.
So yeah, nice little bit of passion fruit for sure. As you move further forward, you get a little bit of mango, and then as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, you get that big oily limey character coming out from the Equinox. This goes together really nicely. It's very much like a slightly oily IPA, this one. I like it. I do like how this goes together. I'm curious to see whether this cold IPA becomes a little bit of a trend or exactly what's going to happen with this one. But yeah, cold IPA of course is a reference to the fact that lager yeast ferment at a colder temperature than ale yeasts. So yeah, the difference between bottom fermenting and top fermenting yeasts. But yeah, this is very, very nice. Let's round off this little tasting then with a look at the mouthfeel. So for me, mid-bodied beer, carbonation is very smooth. It's a big oily slick sort of thing, this one. Yeah, nice big oily slick sort of thing. Yeah, I really like how this beer goes together for sure. On the IBU side of things, I think this is maybe a standard 30, 40 IBU beer. The malty side of things is very, very smooth. There's a good little bit of sweetness to it, for sure. Mainly biscuity, of course. Yeah, so a bit of sweetness and a bit of smoothness to the malt base, and the fruity side of this beer really leans towards the kind of oily end of the spectrum. But yeah, I've enjoyed reviewing this one. So the cold IPA, a collaboration between Garden Brewery here in Zagreb and Dadiva Brewery in Sao Paulo in Brazil. Really enjoyed this. So yeah, let's see what else we have during our time here at Garden Brewery in Zagreb. Catch you guys in a second with the next one. Slanger just now. Alright guys, well, time for our final tasting then here at the Garden Brewery in Zagreb in Croatia. So the last beer that we're going to have a look at goes to the dark end of the spectrum once again. It is simply called Imperial Black Forest Gato Stout. So it comes in at 8.1% ABV. This is another pastry stout, and it's brewed with cocoa nibs and sweet cherries. So this is yet another of the beers that was presented to me by Tomo. He just kind of went crazy and gave me about 12 cans, and I honestly could not tell you how many I've reviewed for this video at the moment. But yeah, I think this one is a very nice beer to round off on. So yeah, an 8.1% Imperial pastry stout with cherries and cocoa nibs in it. Let's have a little look at this. So we'll crack open and we'll get it into the glass. If I can get my nail under it. Yeah, there we go. It's open. It's all good. So yeah, got this very nice Garden Brewery glass. Let's get the beer out into it and we'll see. There we go. So yeah, there we are. So this beer, I have to say, looks very, very nice. So as you can see, and as you would expect from any kind of pastry stout, it's poured a lovely dark ebony rosewood colour. You can see there's a sort of finger and a half of a frothy, I would say kind of slightly bumpy, medium tan head. They're leaning towards the dark tan side of things, but yeah, definitely a lovely dark ebony rosewood colour to this beer. So yeah, let's have a little look at the aroma on this one then and see how we get on. Yeah, straight away with this one, you can smell the cherries on this coming out right away. It's definitely got that kind of pastry stout vibe to it, but a lot of sweet cherries for sure. That's just a basic first impression of this beer. Yeah. Aroma wise, this is pretty crazy. Lovely big oily dark cherries. You've got that bit of kind of pastry stout, the sweet chocolate, the dry cocoa nibs in there, and then yeah, you've got everything else going on too. It's a lovely, lovely smelling beer, this one. I have to say it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, let's break this down a little bit more for you and just describe it a wee bit more in depth. So the backbone of the beer, roasty, toasty, well-fired bread crust, that's for sure. On top of that, some nice, smooth, slightly sweet German rye bread. Yeah, it goes together very, very nicely in that sense. Yeah, lovely big sweet roasty toasty German rye bread. On top of that, as I say, you can get that nice dark cocoa chocolate sort of thing, you know, a 70-80% cocoa nib kind of cocoa chocolate. Some sweet toasty brown sugars in the middle, sweet toasty caramel, definitely a little bit of that more oily sweet caramel note, and also some McVitie's digestive biscuit, definitely. But you're also getting some kind of tobacco notes out of this beer. Yeah, definitely a little bit of tobacco, a little bit of a nutty sort of thing. Yeah, definitely a little bit of a sweet brown sugary character out of this. It's a lovely, lovely smelling beer, as I said. Yeah, on the hoppy side of things, a little bit of earthiness, a little bit of herbal character, also some nice grassiness and floral character out of the beer. But yeah, aroma wise, I think everything goes together very, very nicely. Yeah, on the fruity side of things, for me, there's definitely a little bit of that chocolate brownie type vibe to it, some sharp raisins, a bit of an oily plum, black currants, a juicy black currant, but also a very sharp blackberry. It's a very nice smelling beer, I have to say that. It goes together very, very well. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of these beers before you get stuck in. But I think it's about time that we had a try of this one. So yeah, this is the Imperial Black Forest Gateau Stout, 8.1% ABV, an Imperial pastry stout with organic cocoa and sweet cherries added into the brew. Sounds pretty good. So let's taste it and see how we go. Slange, skål, cheers, jubeli. Yo. Oh yeah, that's another very, very solid beer. I'm not surprised with the quality of things that I've tried from Garden Brewery today. This has been really very, very good. I've not tried any of the beers actually out of the tap. They've all been on can because, yeah, Tomo just went a little bit crazy and handed me lots of cans to try. So that's what I've been working my way through today. But yeah, this is very, very nice. First impression of it is a nice kind of roasty, toasty stout beer. But yeah, it works very, very well. It gets a big thumbs up from me, this one. Yeah, let's try and break this down for you and just describe it a wee bit more in depth. Yeah, so, backbone of the beer. Absolutely, this is a very sweet pastry stout sort of thing. The backbone of this one, roasty, toasty, well-fired bread crust, that forms the backbone of the beer. On top of that, there's a nice little bit of a well-fired rye bread, brown bready sort of thing. And then, yeah, a lot of kind of cakey elements coming out of this beer. Yeah, the backbone of this, roasty, toasty, well-fired. Toward the front of that middle third of the palate, there's a little bit of a nutty sort of thing, a little bit of a woody kind of character coming out of it. Yeah, it goes together very, very well. So again, a big, big thumbs up from me. Yeah, so as I say, brown bready notes. For me, there's a good little bit of this kind of chocolate brownie character going all the way throughout the beer. In the middle of that middle third of your palate, you can feel there's a very dense, sort of highly caramelized brown sugar, treacle, molasses sort of thing. And then, yeah, as you move further forward from that, you start to get a little bit of a kind of tobacco, a little bit of a tobacco, sort of nutty, woody sort of thing out of it. But yeah, sweet caramel, highly treacleized molasses sort of thing coming out of this one. It goes together really, really well. So yeah, treacle, sweet caramel, a little bit of molasses, you know, that kind of cakey underpin to it, a little bit of woody, nutty character. I think that tells you everything you need to know about the middle third of your palate. So toward the back of the toward the back third of your palate, that's when you start to get a few other things coming out of this one too. So on the back third of your palate, you start to feel a slightly more spongy, cakey sort of thing. Definitely some nice big kind of brown bready elements coming out of the beer. Yeah, definitely a bit more sponge cakey and bready and things the further back on the palate you go. But that works very, very well in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we need to say about the malty, yeasty backbone to this beer. Let's focus on the hoppy side of things just to round off. So yeah, for me, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness to this one. As you move further forward, it's a little bit more herbal in character, and as you reach the front corners of the palate, definitely a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic. Then round the front curve of the tongue, a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. You do get a little bit of hop character out of this one, but obviously the longer you keep this beer in the can, the more the hoppy characters are going to drop out of this one. But yeah, hoppy side of things, not the most prominent, but it does add a little bit more depth to the beer. Let's focus on that front third of the palate. So, backbone of the front third of your palate with this beer. Yeah, you can feel the base of this beer is sort of cakey, a little bit chocolate brownie-like. Yeah, I like how that goes together. So yeah, a little bit of a kind of cakey, as you say, yeah, a little bit of a kind of cakey, chocolate brownie sort of thing in there. Yeah, a little bit like a fruit roll, which I find quite interesting. So yeah, on the fruity side of things though, a little bit of sharper raisin, underneath that a bit of a juicy plum, and as you come further forward, more of a kind of figgy element to it for sure, but then as you move into the front half of the front third of your palate, you get a little bit more black currant and a bit of a more oily black berry on top of it. So when they say that this is a kind of Black Forest Gatto, it sounds like a Schwarzwald cookie, I guess you could say, a Schwarzwald cake, Black Forest cake. I think this goes together really well in that sense. It shows you the kind of blackberries and that sort of kind of chocolatey side of things. It's a very nice beer, this one. Certainly a sipper, and once again for me, this is one of these beers that you really would share with a few friends and things like that. But in terms of an Imperial sweet stout, Imperial pastry stout, I think it goes together very nicely. Let's round off this last tasting then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. So yeah, mouthfeel wise, this beer for me, very much bottom end, full bodied. Carbonation is very smooth. It's very kind of smooth and silky in a sense, which I do enjoy. IBU wise, yeah, IBU wise, this beer, it's very quite low actually. I think this is a sort of 15 to 20 IBU beer. It actually really leans more toward the sweet stout side of things rather than anything else, so quite low in its IBU content. The malt base is very smooth but also very sweet, like we've said. Hoppy side of the beer, it does give you a little touch of bitterness but no more than 20 IBUs, and the fruity side is quite nice and sweet but also just a little bit sharp. So yeah, I think that rounds off everything we need to say about this particular beer, and like I say, this is our last tasting here at the Garden Brewery. So yeah, this is the Imperial Black Forest Gatto Stout, 8.1% ABV, an indulgent dessert stout inspired by the German cake, conditioned on organic cocoa nibs and sweet cherries. So yeah, really enjoyed trying this one. This is our final tasting here at Garden Brewery in Zagreb. Like I said, as we always do, I'll go outside and give you my final thoughts. Catch you guys in just a second. Sláinte, skål, cheers, Givelli. Alright guys, well, time to finish off then here at the Garden Brewery in Zagreb in Croatia. As you can hear, they've just started off with a DJ, so that is my signal to leave. Not a great fan of that kind of music, heavy metal all the way for me. But yeah, I came here and spent about 7 hours, met some really nice people, got a tour around the brewery by Tomo and things, met the company's social media manager, and yeah, just had a generally really nice time here. So yeah, got to try some really nice beers. We did quite a few tastings and things like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was really cool to come and visit probably the best known Croatian brewery outside of Croatia here in Zagreb. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed all the tastings and things like that, and I will catch you guys again very soon in another little out and about video. In the meantime, check out my social media, check out Garden Brewery social media, and I'll catch you guys in another video very, very soon. Sláinte, skål, cheers, and Givelli. See you guys very soon.